the Cuban Missile Crisis. Picture this. It's October 1962. Elvis Presley is rocking the charts, the twist is the dance craze, and the world is one wrong move away from nuclear annihilation. Welcome to the Cuban Missile Crisis, the ultimate high-stakes game of chicken between the United States and the Soviet Union. Here's the scoop. Fidel Castro is Cuba's leader, and the Soviets, led by Nikita Khrushchev, decide it's a splendid idea to park some nuclear missiles just 90 miles from Florida. President John F. Kennedy, probably sipping a strong coffee, gets the news and nearly spits it out. Missiles in Cuba? Not on my watch. And thus begins a 13-day nail-biter that had the whole world biting their nails down to the quick. Kennedy's team comes up with a plan, a naval blockade to prevent more missiles from arriving. They call it a quarantine because blockade sounds a bit too warlike. Ships are in position, nerves are frayed, and the world watches with bated breath. Imagine being in school and having drills where you hide under desks. Because, a wooden desk is totally going to save you from a nuclear explosion. The tension escalates. At any moment, one wrong move could mean goodbye planet Earth. Diplomatic cables fly back and forth, more intense than the final season of your favorite drama series. Finally, after some serious back-channeling and probably a lot of sleepless nights, Khrushchev blinks. He agrees to dismantle the missiles in Cuba. In return, the US secretly agrees to remove its missiles from Turkey. It's a classic case of you show me yours, I'll show you mine. And just like that, the world steps back from the brink. Crisis averted. We're all still here thanks to some sharp minds, cooler heads, and a lot of luck. The Cuban Missile Crisis remains a vivid reminder of how close we came to poof, and why diplomacy and dialogue are so darn important. The Black Death. Sounds ominous, right? Well, in the 14th century, it was the Grim Reaper's calling card, wiping out nearly half of Europe's population. Imagine you're strolling through a bustling medieval market, the air filled with the scents of fresh bread and spices. Suddenly, the plague hits, and the once lively streets turn into ghost towns. The culprit? Yersinia pestis, a nasty little bacterium hitching a ride on fleas, which in turn caught free cruises on rats. These rats were the original travel influencers, spreading the plague far and wide. Symptoms included fever, chills, vomiting, and the pièce de résistance, painful black buboes. If you caught it, your chances of survival were about as good as a snowball's chance in a medieval furnace. With no knowledge of bacteria or germs, people came up with all sorts of kooky cures. Some wore beaked masks filled with aromatic herbs, fancy, right? Believing the sweet smells would ward off the disease. Others bathed in rose water, thinking it might cleanse their bodies of the plague. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. Whole villages were wiped out and fields went untended. It was like someone hit the medieval pause button. The social and economic impacts were enormous. Serfs, the backbone of the feudal system, became scarce, forcing lords to negotiate better terms for their labor. Imagine haggling over wages while half the population is dropping like flies. But humanity, ever resilient, eventually clawed its way back. Over time, the plague receded, and Europe slowly began to recover. The Renaissance followed, a period of rebirth and renewal. It's a testament to our ability to bounce back, even from the brink of oblivion. The Y2K bug. The year 2000, the dawn of a new millennium. But instead of celebrating, the world was biting its nails over the Y2K bug. Picture this. It's the late 90s, and everyone's jamming to boy bands and wearing baggy jeans. But lurking behind the scenes is a tiny bug that threatens to bring civilization to its knees. Enter Y2K, the computer glitch that had everyone convinced planes would drop from the sky, ATMs would spew cash like Vegas slot machines, and toasters would develop sentience. Okay, maybe not the last one, but you get the idea. The problem was simple yet terrifying. Many computer systems recorded years with just 2 digits. So when 1999 turned into 2000, computers would think it was 1900. This could cause software to malfunction, data to corrupt, and nuclear missiles to launch themselves. Talk about a bad start to the year. Experts sprang into action, like IT superheroes in khakis and polo shirts, working around the clock to debug, update, and patch systems. Billions of dollars were spent in a global effort to avert disaster. Companies stockpiled supplies, people built bunkers, and conspiracy theories ran wild. Some folks even partied like it was their last night on Earth. As the clock struck midnight on January 1st, 2000, the world held its breath. And nothing happened. Computers hummed along happily, planes stayed in the air, and the only thing overflowing were glasses of champagne. It turned out the IT crowd had done their job spectacularly well, or maybe the threat was a bit overhyped. Either way, the world dodged a digital bullet. The Y2K scare serves as a funny and fascinating reminder of how our reliance on technology can lead to mass hysteria, but also how human ingenuity can pull us back from the brink. The Comet Shoemaker-Levy 9. In 1994, space enthusiasts got front row seats to a cosmic horror show, Comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 smashing into Jupiter. Picture this: a massive comet, about the size of Mount Everest, barreling through space like it's late for an intergalactic appointment, only to get caught in Jupiter's gravitational grip. But instead of a smooth landing, it's ripped into 21 pieces, each on a collision course with the gas giant. Now let's set the scene. Astronomers worldwide were glued to their telescopes, popcorn in hand, ready for the spectacle. The comet fragments, traveling at breakneck speeds, slammed into Jupiter over 6 days. The impacts created fireballs so huge they could have swallowed Earth whole. It was like Jupiter was hosting the universe's biggest demolition derby. These impacts left scars on Jupiter's atmosphere, dark spots larger than our entire planet. Imagine if that comet had aimed at Earth instead. We'd be toast, literally. The energy released by each fragment hitting Jupiter was equivalent to millions of nuclear bombs. It's a sobering reminder of how vulnerable we are to celestial objects playing cosmic pinball. The Shoemaker-Levy 9 event was a wake-up call for astronomers and the public alike. It highlighted the importance of tracking near-Earth objects, NEOs. Enter programs like NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office, which sounds like it belongs in a sci-fi movie, but is very real and crucial. These modern-day space guardians monitor the skies, ensuring we have advanced warning if a space rock decides to pay an unwelcome visit. The 2012 Mayan Prophecy, December 21, 2012. Remember that date? It was the day the world was supposed to end, according to the infamous Mayan prophecy. People everywhere were in a tizzy, convinced that ancient calendar makers had predicted the apocalypse. Spoiler alert, we're still here, and the only thing that imploded was our collective imagination. The hype started with the end of the Mayan long count calendar, which spanned over 5,000 years and ended in December 2012. Some interpreted this as a cosmic game-over screen. Suddenly, doomsday preppers were the stars of reality TV, stocking up on canned beans and building underground bunkers. It was like the Y2K bug all over again, but with more mysticism and less tech jargon. Books, movies, and documentaries fanned the flames. People envisioned everything from killer solar flares to rogue planets playing cosmic dodgeball with Earth. One theory even suggested a planetary alignment would cause gravitational havoc, as if the universe was plotting a massive game of tug-of-war. Scientists, meanwhile, rolled their eyes so hard they nearly sprained something, trying to reassure everyone that the Earth was not about to turn into a space pancake. On the big day, some folks held doomsday parties, because if the world's ending, might as well go out with a bang, right? As midnight passed in each time zone without incident, it became clear the apocalypse had flaked out on us. The most dangerous thing on December 21st was probably a hangover from too much doomsday punch. The 1983 Soviet nuclear false alarm. September 26, 1983. A night that could have been the last for humanity. All thanks to a malfunctioning Soviet satellite and one cool-headed man. Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov. Imagine this. Petrov is on duty, probably sipping on some strong Soviet-era coffee when alarms start blaring like an overzealous morning rooster. The system reports that the U.S. has launched 5 nuclear missiles aimed at the Soviet Union. Yikes. The protocol was clear: retaliate immediately. One push of the button, and it would be a full-scale nuclear war, turning Earth into a post-apocalyptic wasteland where cockroaches would finally inherit the planet. But Petrov, instead of freaking out and pressing the red button, took a deep breath and thought, hold on a second. With nerves of steel, he reasoned that if the U.S. were to strike, they'd likely launch more than just 5 missiles. It didn't add up. Deciding the alert was a false alarm, he reported it as such, going against protocol and potentially risking his career and life. Turns out he was right. The alarm was triggered by a satellite mistaking sunlight reflecting off clouds for missile launches. Imagine explaining that to your boss. Sorry, it was just a sunny day. Petrov's calm and rational thinking averted what could have been a catastrophe of unimaginable proportions. His decision didn't just save his country. It potentially saved the entire world from a nuclear Armageddon. It's a story that underscores the importance of human judgment over automated systems, especially when the stakes are as high as, well, the survival of humanity. Years later, Petrov's actions gained recognition, and he was dubbed the man who saved the world. Not a bad title for a night's work, right? The Toba supervolcano. Around 74,000 years ago, Mother Nature decided to throw a tantrum of epic proportions. The culprit, the Toba supervolcano in Indonesia. Imagine an explosion so massive that it makes every firework display you've ever seen look like a birthday candle. That's Toba. When Toba blew its top, it spewed out so much ash and debris that it blocked sunlight, causing a volcanic winter. The planet's temperature plummeted, crops failed, and it felt like the world's longest, harshest winter. If you think Game of Thrones had a long winter, you ain't seen nothing. This wasn't just a bundle up, it's chilly scenario. It was a good luck surviving this kind of cold. The eruption released around 2,800 cubic kilometers of material. That's enough to cover the entire state of Texas in nearly 10 feet of ash. The skies darkened, and the sun took a sabbatical, leading to widespread famine and the decimation of plant and animal life. Humanity's population dropped to near-extinction levels, with estimates suggesting only a few thousand humans were left wandering the Earth. But here's where it gets fascinating. Despite this apocalyptic event, humans didn't just curl up and give up. Our ancestors proved incredibly resilient, adapting to the harsh conditions and finding ways to survive. It's believed that this bottleneck in human population actually helped shape our genetic diversity. The Toba eruption serves as a humbling reminder of the planet's raw power and our ancestors' tenacity. The Carrington event. In 1859, the sun decided it was time for some solar mischief and unleashed the most powerful geomagnetic storm ever recorded, known as the Carrington event. Picture this. It's the 19th century, and telegraph operators are minding their own business when suddenly their equipment starts sparking and catching fire. If you think your smartphone overheating is a big deal, imagine your telegraph machine turning into a fire hazard. The Carrington event began with a massive solar flare, followed by a coronal mass ejection, CME, aimed directly at Earth. Within hours, the planet's magnetic field was hit, causing auroras to light up the night sky as far south as the Caribbean. People in Hawaii were probably wondering if the northern lights had decided to take a tropical vacation. This geomagnetic storm was so intense that it caused widespread telegraph outages. Some operators reported receiving electric shocks, while others discovered that they could still send messages even with the batteries disconnected, thanks to the induced electrical currents in the wires. It was like the 19th century equivalent of Wi-Fi, but much more shocking. Had a Carrington-level event happen today, it would be a technological nightmare. Satellites, power grids, and communications networks could be knocked out, causing global chaos. Imagine the internet going down, and suddenly everyone's Instagram feed is stuck on that one blurry picture of a cat. The horror! The Carrington event reminds us of our vulnerability to solar weather and the importance of preparing for such cosmic tantrums. Scientists are now better equipped to predict and mitigate the effects of solar storms, but the event remains a fascinating chapter in history. The Tunguska event. June 30th, 1908, started like any other day in the remote Siberian wilderness near the Tunguska River. But that calm morning was about to be shattered by one of the most mysterious and explosive events in modern history. Imagine you're a peaceful Siberian reindeer herder when suddenly the sky ignites in a blinding flash, followed by a deafening explosion that flattens 2,000 square kilometers of forest. Welcome to the Tunguska event, the biggest cosmic wake-up call Earth has received in recent memory. What caused this colossal blast? Scientists believe it was a small asteroid or comet, about 60 meters in diameter, that entered Earth's atmosphere and exploded midair with the force of 1,000 Hiroshima bombs. The shockwave from the explosion was so powerful it knocked people off their feet and shattered windows hundreds of kilometers away. Trees were charred and flattened in a radial pattern, as if a giant had stomped through the forest in a very bad mood. Despite the immense destruction, there was no impact crater. This baffled scientists for years, leading to wild theories ranging from alien spacecraft crashes to Nikola Tesla's experiments gone awry. While the alien theory is fun to ponder, the reality is that the explosion occurred in the atmosphere, disintegrating the object before it could hit the ground. The Tunguska event remains a powerful reminder of the cosmic hazards lurking out there. If the explosion had occurred over a populated area, the loss of life and property would have been catastrophic. Today, we have advanced monitoring systems to track near-Earth objects, aiming to prevent a repeat performance.